Okay, hi everyone. It's of course me, Dr. Ireland, on behalf of the Foundation's Cure team. And as you can see, you are not supposed to talk, but I have no choice but to talk because I'm showing you what I'm doing. So when you are not here, we all go ahead and disinfect, as you know, the lab benches. So you're seeing that, okay, even though nothing is hazardous. And I just finished it. All right. So this is a short video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and light the flame. Today is October the 2nd, Sunday, and we will be doing that for you. This is the station. This coming week, starting tomorrow, you will actually be having 2 stations. All right. So what do we see here, everyone? We still have to work in this imaginary surface area. Something new that you will see is this is called Tween 80, which is a surfactant. We'll talk more about it. This is an empty sterile tube. This is where you will be collecting your spores. And this is actually the plate that we as instructors had used for demonstration. And we had used, there were 2 samples, let's say 1 and 2. One was looking whitish and the other one sort of, with the bread mold was looking, kind of olive green, grayish, right? So I purposely, when we demonstrated, if you remember, we were showing you how you should not take the lid down, you should not place like this, that, and the other. So it's not surprising that we are going to have some contamination. I wanted it that way, all right? So when you come in this week, everyone, you will get your own plate, and you will, reverse it, and, you will see that, oh, this is my plate, great. And then what you will see is you have to first, before you open anything, you have to make observation. What are we observing? We observe that if you look at a little bit, towards the light, you will see that, yes, indeed, your samples have grown, but you will also see that you see towards the edge, there are these 3 kind of strange looking fungi. And this is very likely penicillium, but we're not going to, worry identifying it. But that is obviously the contaminant. Even though it may be a friendly fungus, you don't really want it. All right. So those are the observations you make first, which will take a good, 4 or 5 minutes. So you observe your plate, carefully hold it towards the light, take the photograph. We will allow you to take pictures of from the top side as well as the reverse side, okay, just so that you have the picture. Okay, so what is the main purpose? The main purpose today is to collect and make your own spore stock solution. So you're going to make your own stock, okay? So how will you do that? Tween 80, and I know this thing got light a little bit, 80. Tween 80 is a very common surfactant. You might wonder what is a surfactant. It is basically, well, the easiest way I can explain is like soap. Soap is a type of surfactant. So this is a surfactant, and you will be using this in order to collect the spores, all right? So I made sure I had everything organized, but of course, even the best of teachers, just like students, all of us, we are humans, we sometimes forget something. So don't do what I've done, right? So we need to have actually what? We need to have the micropipette, and we have to have something to add this to this, correct? So here we are again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the surfactant, aseptically add it to the plate. Don't worry that there's contamination. Your plates won't have it, and even if there is, you still have to go through the technique to collect the spores. So how much are we going to add? This capacity of this micropipette is 1000 microliters or 1 ml. So we will adjust it for you. So let's go ahead and adjust it to 1 ml, which is 1000 microliters. These are the pipette tips. They look a little different than what you all used last week, because these are bigger pipette capacity and also bigger pipette tips. So these have been wiped down. Look carefully. Of course, you should not talk. I'm talking because I have no choice but to show it to you. Here it is. It fits snugly. Then you can put this aside a little bit. Remember, I'm still working in this little area. Okay, I had loosened this a little. Didn't open it, but loosened it. Remember, this is all sterile. Look at my thumb. I'm pressing it gently. I take the tip, I take it underneath the surface. Don't burn your hand. And then look at my thumb again. I release it gently. After I release, hold it for a second. See how I close the lid and then put it aside. And now look carefully how do I add. Again, don't set like that, nothing. Just go ahead and open it a little and at an angle without touching anything. You just go ahead. Add 1 ml. And you can see how it forms like little globules. It doesn't just spread all by itself, right? It doesn't. And that's normal, all right? Now what do? As long as you all have not touched, okay, keep that in mind. As long as you all have not touched, the growth and haven't done all that, you can be careful. Use the same tip, do the same process. I'm pressing it and add another 1 ml. You can see this is 1 ml. And you might say, how much should I add, Dr. Ireland? Well, you have a nice growth. I would go ahead and add about, maybe 3 ml. That's good enough. If you have little less growth, you can add 2 ml. It doesn't really matter, okay? Just do your best. All right, this is done. Okay, what do you do next? You go ahead and, let me go ahead and get that beaker. Somehow I had forgotten to pour away the water, but here's the empty beaker. This is your trash, right? Then you don't worry about where it is, all right? You don't need this, you don't need this. Now, you don't really need this either. You can move it aside, but you're still in this area, correct? Now what you do is, you don't need this either. You're done. Now you take this, everyone. What is this called? This is called the actual nichrome. Nichrome is a type of metal. So nichrome loop. It's called loop because it ends in that teeny little circular. It's almost like a spoon, except that we use this in microbiology. Now this is obviously not sterile, right? So what are you going to use this for? You're going to use this to sort of gently scrape. And that scraping is very, very important, because if you scrape too hard, guess what's going to happen, everyone? You will end up taking mycelia. You don't want mycelia, you just want the spores as much as possible. Of course, you don't talk when you're working. I'll go ahead and show you how you sterilize the loop. You will be doing that in every molecular biology, microbiology experiment whenever you want to grow anything. So you make this portion red hot. This little wire, make it red hot. Not this, okay? This is your handle. Make it red hot. Someone said, well, how long, Dr. Ireland? Just, few seconds. Now, are you going to immediately use this? No, because it's too hot. So you have to let it cool down. How long? Well, I don't know exactly how long, but you know what? You know from your basic biology that the receptors on our skin near the edge, like front portion of our fingers or extremities as we call it, are very sensitive to heat and cold. So that's why your hands should be very cold. That's why we say you shouldn't have long nails. That's one of the many reasons. But here we go. So what I do is, this is a trick I learned from my teacher. I use this little portion here gently to touch here. Okay, I can touch easily, but I'm going to still wait for a few seconds. You don't want to wait too long, because what you're really doing in the heat is temporarily sterilizing it. And the rest is easy, everyone. Pay attention. Open it. Because I'm demonstrating, I'm opening it a little more. Normally you open just this much. But you open it, everyone. Assume that there is no contamination, and look what I'm doing. You see this? Very gently. It's almost like, you might think, oh, it's weird. I don't know, nothing's coming out. But believe me, these are all spores. You see that? Almost looking like weird cloudiness. That's all spores. Thousands, tens and thousands. Like a little fine dust. All of these are spores. Someone said, well, how long, Dr. Ireland? And you see how gently, I know you can't feel it, but you can see I'm going at an angle, not poking the agar. And very gently, you just kind of go around. As I said, pretend that this is not there. In my sports suspension, I may end up carrying some of these by mistake just because they are on the plate. It's no big deal because I'm just demonstrating. Also, in your case, if you end up having a little contamination, don't be hard on yourself. You're just learning. But in real life, you'd have to redo the whole experiment again. Okay, that's the way it goes. As I always joke, in science, you can't hide. Okay, it always shows. If you make mistake in biomath, organisms won't grow. Alright, now look what I do. I want to turn around a little. It's almost done. Don't worry, guys. I'm going it slowly. In real life, you'll have to spend a few, couple of more minutes. I'm just sort of showing you how to proceed, okay? That's it. Just go over the best way you can. You're not going to take up all the spores. But look what I do. Look, if I use more strength and do like that, I'll go through like this, or I'll end up picking up a lot of mycelia from underneath. You don't want that, okay? Alright, you're done. You'll see that this is full of. Still, I don't know if you can see, but the loop is not empty anymore. So what do? It goes to spore heaven. It's gone. Make it red hot. You always should make it red hot, even though you don't need to use it. You know why? Because we have to be thoughtful. There are other people who are going to use the same nichrome loop. So this week, we will have some nichrome loops reserved for the samples that have gray spores and some reserved for samples that have whitish spores. Alright, so this is done. You're finished, so let's put it aside. Last step, how are you going to collect the spores, right? So we are back to our, remember you're going to collect it in this 15 ml capacity sterile tube. Alright, okay, so here you go. Now keep in mind how much volume did we add? 3 mLs. Are you going to be able to collect all 3 mLs? No, you will see why, because some of the turbidity sort of seeps through the agar. But this is already set at 1000. Do the same thing. In this region, you're working in that region around the flame. Close it gently. Make sure your hands don't touch anything. This is the trickiest part, everybody. Look, hold it. Gently hold it. Don't tilt it too hard. If you tilt it too hard, it's going to spill. I have trouble, everyone, because you can see my hands are very tiny. I used to joke, I have mutant hands here. Okay? But if, most of y'all won't have as trouble as I have. Okay, look, I'm pressing. Keep pressed. Don't go straight like that. Go at an angle. Release. Look at my thumb. I'm releasing it very slowly. Not too. If you release it too quick, it's like too much pressure and it sucks it up. Suction. If you release it slowly, look. Isn't that beautiful? Well, of course, only Dr. Ireland will find it beautiful. All right. So be careful how you put it down. Here we go. Look how I open. I had loosened the cap a little bit, so it's easier to open. Look, I touch it to the side a little and look at my thumb. Now I press it again. So this time you're releasing the spore suspension. And check this out. I know this looks just light gray. That's a lot of spores. Now that was 1 ml. We may be lucky to get, I don't know. We may be lucky to get maybe 2 ml or less than that, okay, which is okay. So again, press it. Am I going to be lucky? Am I going to be lucky? Am I going to be lucky? Ooh, well, almost 2 ml. Good. Almost, not quite. I pressed it a little. You see, tiny bit is there, no big deal. Look at the volume. This is very accurate. Do you see, everyone? Look at the lower meniscus. It's almost 2 ml, correct? That's it. That's mission successful. Now, someone said, can I try? I had students who really want to try. And they try, but you're going to see it's just dry. Someone had asked me, my research students often ask me, there's so many spores. Can I add more of this and do the same thing? No contamination, so can I add it? You can do all of these things if you're doing a real research project and you're desperately needing more stock solution. But this is fine for you, okay? So now, what do we do next? We are finished. Do this, This is the way. What do you do with your plate? This is used plate. Don't open it. Don't do anything with it. Don't tilt it. Don't do anything. You are done. And little bit is spilled. That's nothing hazardous. So what we will do is that, once you finish the work, your teacher will go ahead and wipe it, because we don't want to spend too much time getting paper towels and disinfectant. There's nothing hazardous. It's probably a couple of drops of the Trinity. So again, we went through the aseptic techniques. You should not talk. You should have everything ready, and you should gently and carefully remove your sports suspension. This is your stock solution. So let's say myself and Dr. Carmichael were lab partners, so we finished. And let's say Dr. Billy Ran and Dr. Zhang were the second lab partners. They also had worked with the same fungus, meaning, the gray. So they can next do the work, and then they can collect it in the same tube. So I'll explain all that tomorrow, okay? So that we don't end up having hundreds of tubes. All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this little session. And I want to thank my son, Keaton, again. Thank you, Keaton. All right, we are done. Bye.